guys, it's Kristine Vicente with Queen City Stamp Art, and I'm back again today with another clean and simple card. Today I'm going to be featuring a fun ink blending technique as part of the clean and simple card. Before we get started, I just wanted to put out a little reminder that the mystery goodie box promotion that I'm offering this month through Queen City Stamp Art is still available for about another 3 or 4 days. So April 29th, 2022, it expires at midnight. If you shop using this host code at this web store and you spend $50 or more, I'll be sending you a mystery goodie box in the mail that will contain a bunch of Stampin' Up! Products, some brand new, some gently used, but beautiful products nevertheless. And it's just my way of saying thanks. So I just wanted to make sure that I reminded everybody in case you missed out on this so far. I don't want you to miss out if you don't want to. We're going to be using some fun products today. So we're going to be using this beautiful Seashells 3D embossing folder for one of the panels on the card. We're also going to be using the Scalloped Contours dies, which are part of the Color and Contour bundle in the current annual catalog. This is going to carry over to the new catalog. So this is a great one to have for your stash because it has a whole variety of scalloped frames, and they have some wonderful details, and it coordinates with the Color and Contour stamp set. So these two are carrying over, but this bundle that we're going to be using today is not. This is the Seize the Day bundle. We're going to be using this beautiful stamp set to create the card, and the dies as well, a couple of the die shapes, or one of the die shapes to create the card. But this is a great little set if you love sea life. And this is retiring. So today we're going to be using a bunch of white pieces, and we're going to be coloring those with some of this ink. So why don't we get started? I think what we'll do first is we will stamp out, we're going to be using Polished Pink, Tahitian Tide, which is a brand new in color that's coming May 3rd. So nobody can get this yet except demonstrators. But if you like it, it is Tahitian Tide. It's brand new in color. And Coastal Cabana. So a really fun little summery color palette. So we're going to start by stamping pink jellyfish using the Polished Pink. And I'm going to bring in my mini stamp cut and emboss machine. And we're going to die cut this little jellyfish out. Just going to lay that over top here. Pardon the shaking of the camera. There we go, a perfect little jellyfish. And then we're going to set this machine aside because that's all the die cutting we're doing. And now we're going to get into a little bit of the ink blending before we put the card together. So I like to use this little mat from the Stamparatus. You can purchase this for $6 in the annual catalog. The reason I love this is it's double-sided. So one side is foam, which is great for putting your project piece on when you're stamping photopolymer stamps, because it gives it that little bit of extra cushion, which provides a nice impression, a good impression. But then I also love it because this side, this little mat fits inside the Stamparatus tool, which I also recommend and love, and at some point I will probably demonstrate that for you. But this little mat is sold separately, and it has like this plastic coating on it, which I love because it's great for ink blending. So we're gonna use these two colors to blend some ink. I'm gonna start with Tahitian Tide, and let's see here. I like to pick my ink up from a block rather than off the ink pad. I just feel like there's a little bit more control. And I'm just going to start off the project piece and then kind of bring it onto my project so I don't get a big blob in that corner. And I'm just kind of circular motions and kind of spreading it on that top corner of my project piece. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to use a little baby wipe And I use the natural baby wipes that have no alcohol in them because these are safe on our blocks and stamps. And they still work great and clean everything up nice. And I'm just gonna wipe off the mat so I clean off the ink because I'm gonna be using another color and I don't want it to, I don't want there to be any transfer onto my brush. Just gonna add some of this pretty Coastal Cabana. And I'm just gonna kind of rub those on until they meet in the middle. Just like that. There we go. Now I will get my baby wipe here and clean this up. It cleans up so easy with these little baby wipes. And then it's all set to use again. Now, to add a little bit of extra interest to this, and since this is part of my underwater scene, I'm going to take one of my little Stampin' Spritzer tools, and I have some water, regular tap water in here, and I'm just going to spritz this a little bit with water. I'm holding it probably 12 inches away, and I'm just going to spritz it a bit. And it sort of has this fun little bleaching effect where I can see some of the little water droplets where they splattered onto the panel. It's almost like the ink resists or kind of moves the ink away, and you get this like little splattery look. And I like that. I think that's kind of a neat technique. And I'm not sure if it's because I have city water and we do have some chlorine in our water. We drink filtered water, so I should probably try the filtered and see if it really does have, it is because of the chlorine that I get this little effect. But it's fun to try. I really recommend it, even if you just do a little practice panel to see if it works with your water, your tap water. And so when this dries, it will dry very smooth and flat as it dries. It's just a little bit moist because I just spritzed it. But we're going to start putting the card together, and by the time we're done, it'll be ready to glue, I'm sure. So I'm starting with a top folding base card in basic white, and I'm going to layer on an embossed panel from that beautiful 3D seashell embossing folder. And because it's pretty heavily embossed, I am going to kind of go all the way around the edges just to make sure it glues down nice and flat. Oh, before I add it to the card base, I want to add some ribbon. I almost never add ribbon, that's why I forgot. But we're going to add a little panel of a little wrap of ribbon on this one, and I'm using the sheer pool party, which is very, very pretty. And what I'll do is I will put this around the card. And I'm going to bring the mat back in because it's plastic, and if it glues down to this, I can easily pick it up. And I'm just going to tie a small bow right onto the card panel. Like that. And then I'm going to use some scissors and just kind of trim that off. And now I will glue it to the card panel. Just like this. Then I'm going to take and I'm going to add the panel that I colored with ink, and I'm going to put some adhesive on this and add it to the scalloped panel. I cut the piece to be a little bit smaller than the inside of the stitched line on this. And you can just kind of measure it up and decide how big you want it. But I like to keep the stitch detail to show, and I of course I didn't want to get any ink on the scallops, so I created this little panel to ink so that I could layer it together like this. And then we're going to add this to our card base with some dimensional adhesive. And I'm just going to put it to the left of the ribbon. Like this. And then I'm going to stamp, I'm going to use my Memento black ink. Normally I would stamp this before I glued it down with dimensional adhesive, but I forgot. So we're just going to add it now. I'm just going to add a little sentiment on here. And then we're going to add the jellyfish using some additional dimensionals. And I'm just going to tuck this over here on the side, like that. Fix the little bow, just like that. And that's the card for today. So I hope you enjoyed the little technique. I think the little splattering of the water onto the ink creates this little, like, sort of these little bubbles. And you can get a closer look at this card over at queencitystampart.com. If you go to my website, queencitystampart.com, and click on the Projects tab, you can see a close-up of this card and a little bit more detail on why I would have spritzed it instead of just leaving it. It looks kind of cool. It makes it look like there's like bubbles coming up from the ocean floor. So it just adds a little bit of extra detail. And I think whenever you're creating a clean and simple card, the details really matter. That's what makes the card so special. So I hope you enjoyed the technique for today, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.